Every show has that character that the writers just love to beat up on. It's one thing to have a character with flaws, but it's a whole nother thing to make them a permanent underdog you love to hate. No character fits the bill more in the Dragon Ball franchise than Yamcha. Before we begin, subscribe to CBR and ring that bell to join our notification squad so you never miss a video. Without further ado, here are some times Yamcha revealed how weak he is.
Poor Yamcha. I wonder what's wrong. He seems to have lost his drive.
Interstellar Tournament. Why sign up for a competition if you have no faith you could succeed? It's one thing to be overconfident and fail, but it's another thing altogether if you sign up and try to sit it out because you're scared you'll suck, only to be tossed into the ring and fail anyway. This is what happened in BoJack Unbound, the 9th Dragon Ball Z movie. Yamcha spends all his time at the top of a huge pillar, avoiding the actual fight. Meanwhile, Krillin at least tried. Attaboy, Krillin. He can't beat the strongest guy in the tournament, but he does his best by pushing his skills to the limit and mustering his enthusiasm. He beats countless other fighters who are definitely taller and thicker looking than he is. Meanwhile, back to Yamcha. A big sumo wrestler guy shoved another competitor into the bowl Yamcha is resting on top of. He falls off and into the water, eliminating him from the game without a chance to even fight another fighter. But when his head emerges from the water, he's pissed off that he's been eliminated on a technicality. This is just another example of how his weakness doesn't necessarily come from a lack of physical abilities, but because he can't make up his mind. You're not Hamlet, Yamcha. You're a fighter in an anime. Pull yourself together, man.
I just got my second wind, and it's blowing like a hurricane.
In his head. The common theme here is that Yamcha acts weak. Yes, he's a human and Goku isn't, but that's only half of his problem. His main problem is that he doesn't try. The first time we meet Yamcha, he beats the stuffing out of Goku. He effortlessly shoves our main hero through the 3 stone pillars like it's nothing. Only later, through training, does Goku learn to beat Yamcha. Goku, like any good hero, improves. When Master Roshi demonstrates the powerful Kamehameha attack to Goku, Krillin, and Yamcha, it's Yamcha who masters the technique on his own, and he's the one who figured out that Saiyans are weak during their transformation in their tails. It's an insight that helps him save Bulma and himself later on. That's why he's so frustrating. He spends so much time not living up to his potential and only grows as a person in fits and starts. Many have pointed out that Dragon Ball is loosely based on the medieval Chinese novel Journey to the West, but Yamcha reminds us of a character from another classic Chinese book, A Dream of Red Mansions. The protagonist in that book, Jia Bayu, is a rich dilettante with no interest in self-improvement. He's kind and compassionate, but never learns anything. Also, unlike that character, he's way worse with women.
So I've got to spend another year acting like a lunkhead every time a pretty girl comes around. I'll never get a girlfriend.
Afraid of women. Being afraid of women is a seriously toxic weakness to have as a guy. Just look at the internet. But it's even more absurd when the guy in question is buff, handsome, and one of the most powerful mortal fighters in the series. At one point early in the series, a young Goku is fighting Yamcha. Yamcha kicks Goku's butt with his wolf fang fist. When Goku gets back up, he dares Yamcha to try it again. Yamcha's about to when suddenly he sees Bulma and gets too nervous to continue. Another moment early on in the Dragon Ball Z series, Goku, Yamcha, and Bulma are trapped in a dungeon. The 2 guys are knocked unconscious, and when they regain consciousness, Bulma warns them that Goku's Dragon Ball has been stolen. Yamcha looks up at Bulma, sees her breasts, and his eyes do that classic pop-out thing that's been a staple of cartoons since the beginning. You can sort of forgive him though. He lived alone in a desert as a bandit for so long, he hasn't had much experience with women. But like all things Yamcha, he's leaning too hard into it. It's fun comic relief, but seriously, dude, there are strategies you could learn to improve your ability to act normal around girls.
Come in.
Driving skills. Of course Yamcha bought a cool new car, and of course he totally wrecks it. He's riding along with Buer, bragging about how amazing his new flying car is. He can't wait to show off his new wheels, rockets, to Bulma. By now, we all know whenever this topic of Bulma comes up, Yamcha totally loses it. Which is why you can probably guess what happens next. Yamcha totally loses control of the car and crashes it. At least, no one else got hurt. But of course, later at dinner, everyone learns about the incident and they laugh in his face. He does his best to laugh along with them since he's probably used to it at this point. There's a similar moment in the General Blue saga where Yamcha loses control of a flying minivan. We hope it has airbags. This time, Bulma is in the car with him, desperately trying to seize the steering wheel from Yamcha in an attempt to regain control of the vehicle. Lesson learned, don't let Yamcha drive any kind of flying vehicle, especially when he's near Bulma or thinking about Bulma.
To be truly strong, you must know yourself and your enemy.
Mr. Popo. At one point, Yamcha, Tien Shinhan, and Chiatsu are training with the short, lovable Master Popo, and they're not making much progress. That happens when you try to get better at something sometimes. You just get stuck, and Mr. Popo, like any good teacher, knows that the best solution is to keep practicing, to just keep doing. Everyone is frustrated, but everyone understands this simple truth. Except, you guessed it, Yamcha. Yamcha has the presumption to protest to Mr. Popo about the lack of progress. Crucially, Mr. Popo points out that they don't know themselves well enough to keep improving. If you've been paying attention thus far, you'll probably guess what Yamcha's response is. That's right, Yamcha presumes that he knows himself better than anyone. Mr. Popo asks Yamcha if he knows himself so well, how come he doesn't know that he's weak? Yamcha challenges him, and Mr. Popo keeps Yamcha at bay with just his finger. This is the ultimate Yamcha fail moment. Once again, it's not about his physical strength, but his total lack of self-awareness. The next time some grown-up complains that cartoons are shallow, point them in the direction of this clip.
Hey, I'm available, ladies. What do you say, huh?
Rejection. At one point, Bulma and Chi-Chi are discussing trading boyfriends. Chi-Chi suggests that Bulma take Vegeta and she takes Goku. Meanwhile, all the guys look on. While the other guys just awkwardly chuckle, Yamcha pipes up that he's available. Chi-Chi's response? We're looking for an even trade, not a downgrade. Oh, burn! Poor Yamcha. In front of everyone, no less. Well, that's what you get, buddy. Seriously, even if you were to downgrade, who says that? That's exactly the moment when you're not supposed to say anything. Even the most attractive guy is gonna be roasted by one of the girls if you make that comment in front of everyone. That's how social situations like this work. This continues Yamcha's saga as a guy who looks okay, minus the scars, but has total trouble with women. Poor dude.
That Dragon Balls. That Dragon Balls.
Dragon Balls. This is one of Yamcha's earliest fails. It occurs early in the Dragon Ball Z series during the Emperor Pilaf saga. Yamcha wants to steal the Dragon Balls from Goku and Bulma, who are asleep in their van. And why does he want to steal these Dragon Balls? Well, remember, Yamcha began his career as a thief. The Dragon Balls, when combined together, can summon the Eternal Dragon, who will grant one wish. And what thief wouldn't wish for unlimited riches, or a world with no burglar alarms? Yamcha sends his little pal Pure to lure Bulma out of the van, so Yamcha can steal the balls, but Bulma turns out to be Oolong in disguise. Oolong doesn't bother to tell Bulma and Goku that Yamcha is coming, but he's not going to let Pure tell Yamcha that the whole operation is compromised. When Yamcha sneaks into the van, he waltzes over to a blanket covering what looks like a couple of ball-like shapes, but they're not Dragon Balls. It's Bulma, sleeping naked. At this point, you know what happens. Yamcha totally freaks out that he's seen a woman's breasts, so he runs out of the van, he and Pure to retreat in disgrace to try to steal the Dragon Balls another day.
You two better be careful. There's a couple of androids on the loose and they mean business.
Monster of the Week. In television, there's something called the Worf effect. In a show with a new villain every week, you often have a strong protagonist who's unusually pretty powerful, but gets his butt kicked by the Monster of the Week to demonstrate how dire the situation is. In Dragon Ball, it happens to Yamcha all the time. This trope of Yamcha always losing to a new character begins the first tournament arc, when he loses to Jackie Chun, the old calm martial arts master. To his credit, Yamcha can sense from the beginning that Chun had a hidden confidence and power behind his frail old body, but it doesn't stop him from picking raw power over subtlety, and he goes down to Chun anyway. Another big example of Yamcha losing to the Monster of the Week is when the androids first appear and Yamcha loses to Android 20, aka Dr. Gero, and at that time he almost dies. Dr. Gero just reaches out and grabs Yamcha's face. The results are pretty bloody, and Yamcha's lucky Goku appears in time to save him. Crucially, it's not a moment where Yamcha is acting cocky or overly confident. This is serious business because those androids are very dangerous and wreaking havoc. Losing to Kami. You just can't fault Yamcha for this one, but it's just too funny to pass up. Shen is just a nerdy dad attending the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament. Little does he know he's about to get possessed by Kami, an ancient deity with a distaste for the pettiness of humans, with a desire to defeat and contain Piccolo with his evil containment wave. When Kami possesses Shen, Shen enters the tournament and, of course, ends up fighting Yamcha. His moves are so ludicrous, Yamcha just can't help but underestimate a guy who just looks like an anime version of everyone's dad at their most daddish. To be fair to Yamcha, Shen doesn't really look the part of a fighter, and possessed by Kami, Shen beats a bunch of other competitors too. But he beats Yamcha even faster because Yamcha gets cocky and lets its guard down. This again is Yamcha's weakness. He's a good enough fighter, but his overconfidence does him in. Shen almost wins the tournament, but Kami decides to leave his body so as to not allow Shen to be harmed by the evil containment wave. Incidentally, Kami is the new Japanese word for spirit, and Shen is Chinese for spirit as well. They both use the same Chinese character as well. Fun fact.
Well, that was easy. Looks like we're in a different league altogether than your little green goon squad.
killed by Saibamen. If you know anything about Dragon Ball, you knew this moment was coming in this video. Yamcha's weakness of overconfidence and lack of care eventually gets him killed. Perhaps you were thinking we'd end the video with Yamcha retiring. When the Saibamen attack Earth in the Saiyan saga, Goku and friends intervene, including Yamcha. At first, Yamcha does pretty well against the Saibamen. We get some comic relief with the Saibamen tossing him up into the air, but he comes back down kicking. Finally, he manages to get behind the Saibamen and hit the little green guy with a good old Kamehameha. Well, what happens next is classic Yamcha. He lets his guard down, thinking the Saibamen must be finished simply because they're knocked out to the ground, but it's just waiting for him to open up, so it can get him in a bind and self-destruct, taking Yamcha with him. Meanwhile, Goku, Tien Shinhan, Krillin, and Piccolo all manage to take out the other Saibamen with ease. Yamcha's death delivers him to King Kai's planet in the other world, where they all continue to train in the afterlife. As much as we rip on Yamcha, we love you, bud.
So, how's that for you?
There you have it. Is Yamcha your favorite character? Have we been unfair to him in this video? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.